Welcome to Season 2 of the Panographers. Today, we take you to East London's iconic Brick Lane and sit down with VR director Mary Matheson and VR director of photography Richard Stegmann. We discuss triumphs, challenges, and insights behind Surround Vision's award-winning virtual reality productions.
So Richard, you are at Surround Vision, which we're actually in the Surround Vision courtyard. You can actually you might be able to see the Surround Vision offices right behind us.
On the first floor.
Yeah. HQ. This is HQ right here. And they have this beautiful courtyard where I guess that in the evenings it turns into a raucous,
it goes wild,
drinkery of sorts. So how long have you been working for Surround Vision?
We've been making 360 video for about 7 years, so quite a long time.
Nice.
Yeah, Surround Vision is the sort of pioneers in VR 360 filmmaking, and we've been very fortunate to work with some really high-profile people through our work with Sky and National Geographic and Google.
Yeah, I think some people might have heard of National Geographic and Google.
Yeah.
How about Sky?
Sky VR, yeah. Sky is a broadcaster, and they're very interested in breaking new ground, and that suits us just fine because we've been very happy to help them break that new ground. But they've given us access, incredible access, which is what VR really needs, to get up close to the action, to some really incredible sport. So we've done, some boxing, some Formula One, where we are able to give people an incredible experience.
And so, if you could pick, sort of when you're falling asleep at night, and you have those moments when you're thinking back to sort of a magic memory, a magic cinematic filmmaking memory, where you were just like super excited to be there, and you knew you were pushing new ground, and all the stars were aligning. What would those moments look like?
Those moments take me more to the stories that I really feel need to be told, and it takes me to a project we worked on in Africa, where we're actually changing people's lives, and that's really where I feel VR has an incredible tool, and a really worthwhile machine to take people to places and give them that experience that is very difficult to give them in any other way. I think that, coupled to the fact that it's a sort of a theatrical stage rather than looking through a lens, makes it a very powerful combination.
Since Mary, you've worked on some really exciting things recently. You've been doing the latest project for Google,
Female Planet,
with the Halo cameras.
Yep.
I think you're 5 episodes in.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, when you've gone on that journey recently, what were some of the filmmaking challenges that you encountered along the way?
Well, I think that as we've moved through the films, I think we've developed more and more technically. We've kind of learned ourselves from the very beginning. The first one we made, we were shooting on the Odyssey, and then after that we've been using the Halo, which has been a really different experience. We haven't really had too many problems with it at all, and the quality has been incredible.
And some folks that might be watching might not know what the Halo is. If my memory serves me correctly, it's now with the Wii.
The Yi Halo.
The Yi
Halo.
How you pronounce it?
Yeah.
The Yi Halo, and is it 12?
17.
17. Even better.
Yeah.
Well, it's 16 plus a up-facing one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
But it's got a huge nadir, which can be problematic, and it's also physically quite big.
Yeah.
But it gives you a hyper resolution, right? For theoretically, if you did an interior projection experience, projected in a large dome. Yeah,
it's a stereoscopic camera as well.
Yeah. So you had to get this giant camera. All over the world.
Yes, we've been to India.
And the Yis
America.
Were they always working? Did they always work flawlessly?
Well, not always, but mostly. There was one where it was difficult in Alabama.
Yeah, well, we had the first Yi Halo in Europe, and when we got it came with a whole bunch of problems. which the Yi team were very quick to help us resolve. So you know, it's been a ride. We've really enjoyed.
Just as a VR filmmaker myself, I've found that the larger the camera system, the more attention it seems to garner.
Yeah.
Did you guys encounter any situations where you kind of had to ask the people to sort of act like they didn't see it there?
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, to be honest, it happens wherever we go anyway. I mean, I think that even if I'm shooting 2D or linear films, often the sorts of places that we film in, it's kind of unusual, you know, if we're shooting in Africa or India. But actually the funniest one was in LA, shooting on Rodeo Drive, where people thought that it was a Google camera, but they thought it was Google Earth.
Oh my God.
So they thought that we were shooting for, you know, Google Earth, basically. So that's actually the funniest one, right?
Yeah, but we've taken those Yi Halos and we like to move the camera.
Yeah.
So we've flown them.
Motion.
We've flown them
shots.
on zip lines. We've moved them on dolly shots. We've moved them. We've flown them from drones.
Yeah.
As well.
So.
And you've seen that Surround Vision has a really impressive mechanical engineering department, and you know, all sorts of vast sort of homemade zipline systems and rover systems and all those good things that you'd want in a cinematic, you know.
Yeah, well, we also developed some fairly low-tech pieces of kit, like a plate that could fit on the bottom of the Yi Halo, which gave us the opportunity of having a whole bunch of 1/4-20 threads to put our nadir cameras in place. Because we started off trying to sort of position them, and that just was a nightmare. So we developed this aluminium plate that gave us really nice mounting points to do that.
So can you tell us about the Female Planet series and sort of what was the impetus behind it?
Sure. Yeah, so the Female Planet was basically intended to sort of provide content for young female gamers, because I think that Surround Vision and Google realized that there were lots of young women gaming, but there was not a lot of content for them outside of games. So Surround Vision developed the Female Planet to sort of create these female role models who sort of younger women could look up to and see breaking through barriers of whatever their profession might be. And hopefully find it inspirational, but also be able to work out, you know, like maybe we can also follow suit if I'm interested in being an actress, or I'm a sportswoman or whatever. The idea is simply that, you know, particularly at the moment, if you can, you know, as a woman, if you can see a woman in a particular role, then it'll inspire you to go on and be a role model in a leadership kind of level. So we currently have Gina Rodriguez, who's a Latina actress. And we shot that in LA with her, obviously. And she talks about what it was like growing up as a young Latina in Chicago, actually, but wanting to be an actress, and how the sort of struggles that she faced, and the sort of discrimination that she faced, the kind of roles that they try to put her into, you know, being a maid, or, you know, when she was sort of fought against that. And then got Jane the Virgin, which is, you know, one of the most popular sort of comedies in the US and globally, actually.
Amazing.
So she was one of them. Another one was Tiara Fletcher, who's a young aerospace engineer.
I watched that one.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
So she's incredible, and that was an incredible story. She's very young, 23 years old. And then the last one in the series was with a young woman called Vidya Vox, who was born in India but grew up in the States, and she's basically merged Indian and hip-hop music to come up with her own sound, and we shot that one in India, in Mumbai.
So from what I've seen, they've been amazing, and I recommend everyone check them out, all 5 episodes and maybe a 6th episode. What I'd be interested to know is how did you find and choose these women, and then how did you sort of like do the research needed to figure out how you'd write the story?
Okay, so the women were chosen through a combination of things. So we had done some research beforehand and had pitched to Google certain women who we thought were good role models. But then Google also brought some people that they also were already working with, and they thought could fit. So it was a mixture.
We also had some people we wanted to film, and timing didn't work out. So we had to then change.
Yeah.
So there were others that we would still like to add to the list.
Awesome.
But Google was keen to also cover various genres. So by getting the technology, getting the music, we were able to cover quite a wide spectrum of people.
Didn't you have a, I can't remember, I'm spacing on her name, but she was doing research for garnering energy from ocean waves.
Yes, that's right, Anna Braverman.
Anna Braverman. And she was born near Chernobyl.
That's right.
And was declared
dead
as an infant.
Correct.
That's right, by her mother, who was a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some really incredible stories, like heart-wrenching stories.
Yeah. They're very emotional, actually, and you can see with each one of them they have actually had to overcome quite a lot in order to get where they are. But they're not impossible barriers that they've managed to break through, and I think that's the point about the series, is that you want young women to sort of feel like they too could do that, although we're all going to face certain struggles, that actually it is possible to break through those things and then go on and have a really successful career in whatever you choose.
Yeah. What I saw, there was one common thread that I saw through all the series was that they weren't just successful, they were having a positive impact in the world beyond their own success.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then to answer your question about research, what we did with that was the main basis of any script was actually an interview with each of the women. And the script was entirely made up of that interview, so it's none of them are my words, they're all the words of the women themselves.
Interesting.
So before that, I would obviously research them and read articles about them, and then I did an interview with them. Then I wrote a paper script, exactly word for word from that, obviously reduced. And then they would check it, and we would collaborate a bit just to check it was their own words, and then we would record their voiceover, or they would do pieces to camera.
Nice. I guess that's why it kind of has a really nice organic feel to it. So
right, and authentic as well, I hope, because that's the point about it too.
It felt sort of like we were in their mind and we were sort of moving through the world with them. That was my impression, at least when I saw it. So
and from a shooting point of view, we kind of shot it exactly to do that, so that they were talking to the camera like the camera was their younger sister, or that's their buddy. So when and that you're sort of acknowledged as you're as the viewer.
Absolutely.
And that was very much a deliberate thing.
That's actually an interesting sort of new technique in VR. I mean, some traditional cinematic sort of challenges or do's and don'ts are never look at the camera. When actors are performing, never look at the camera, because then people lose their suspension of disbelief and they're like, oh, hey, the actor looked at me. They knew there was a camera there. Wait, there was a camera there? And that kind of takes them out of the moment. In VR, you can have someone, it's like the opposite. You can have someone look at the camera and you feel like you're having a personal moment with them.
Join us.
Just like we are now, hopefully. So if you guys are allowed to talk about it, I mean, I know there's a trailer on your website, so it's fairly public. It hasn't been released as a series yet, but if you're able to talk about your environmental series.
Sure. Climate changes.
It's a really, often when you see something about climate change, it's doom and gloom, and it's a really bad, horrible, end of the world story. But what we're homing in on is a number of passionate people that are doing things that are actually making a difference. So it's kind of climate change stories, but with a positive spin on them, which is quite uplifting.
Absolutely.
And we feel that these are stories that need to be told, and people need to know that there are things that they can do that will make a difference.
Are there any specific people that you would be allowed to talk about? That you've
We can talk about certainly the ones that we've shot some pilots with, and that's Boyan Slat, who has got an ocean cleanup project, which is very ambitious and very much in a test phase. They launched the first test barrier just last year.
Yeah, I was.
You were there
to work on that project. So
yeah. And they've got a whole bunch of issues, which is what they expected, and they're learning a lot from having this piece of equipment in the sea and being able to test it. So that's an exciting project, and we hope to follow it on its journey. And the other person we've homed in on is Stefano Bueri, who's an Italian architect that's designed urban forests. So he puts a whole bunch of trees on the outside of his buildings. So by so doing that, there's an obvious link to providing oxygen in cities. But there's other benefits as well, because we get bird life and we get insects and we get people have a much nicer environment to live around, foliage and greenery. And he's been very successful in a number of sort of pilot projects in China and in Italy. And we're very pleased to be teaming up with him to follow his journey.
So on the trailer, I was watching it in VR, and I saw a guy coming down on a zip line.
Yeah.
And I thought he was in a redwood forest.
Right.
And
Oh,
I
wow.
panned up, and then the foliage kind of spread apart, and I saw it was on a skyscraper.
Yeah, it's
And I
cool,
was
isn't
like,
it?
wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you frame it. I should say in VR, I guess your frame is the initial thing you see. It's the initial direction that you're looking
Yes.
at. So, and that's your first impression.
Mhm.
And then when you move and change, that's sort of like your juxtaposition moment.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of a magic little
That's cool.
change for me when I saw that. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
It's a
had
great project,
we filmed him using a body rig, which worked really well. It worked much better than we imagined was going to work. Yeah, so we're very pleased with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've our own company has tried all sorts of different body rigs, and we always have to sacrifice many cameras in the process.
Oh, God.
We did a boulder rally and had a guy scrambling up a boulder, and then he smashed the GoPro Fusion against the rock and
No.
millions of pieces.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's all for the cause, though.
Of course.
Yeah. Did you get the footage before?
We did.
There
The
you go.
footage was a
There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Surround vision, what do you, well, let me say, or add one thing to what you just said, which is, you guys are telling stories, and they're uplifting, they're sort of, maybe one intention is to help inspire the next generation, and to see that actually people can be positive changers on this planet. But the other interesting thing is that we're also documenting these moments, these really critical moments in time in a new way. And I don't think maybe the society is fully aware of how much more powerful VR is as a documentary tool.
Yeah.
I mean, visual effects artists can now make, photogrammetry-based 3D models from 360 video.
Yeah.
There's a Insta has a partnership with Matterport now, where you can, walk through a building taking 360 video, 360 photos, and create like a complete 3D model.
Yeah.
So it's like we're using these camera systems, and we don't actually know what their future potential might hold in terms of a documentary, capture technology.
Yeah.
So there's sort of like there's all these things that we're getting.
Well, the exciting avenues that are opening up in front of us are game engine collides with VR, and that opens up a whole bunch of exciting things. So that's really where we're.
So that was one
diving
of my
in.
next questions was like, where do you see our field going? Where would you like for it to go? And sort of what excites you the most in kind of around the corner? Whether that's technology or if it's just maybe another project that you'd like to tell, another story you'd like to tell.
Mary?
I think I know that augmented reality at the moment seems to be sort of de rigueur, but coming from a filmmaking background, I still am very much in love with 360, and I think that it still has its moment to come. I mean, I think that we've just been experimenting and developing the language and it's a level playing field. Actually, I have more experience than Steven Spielberg in VR at the moment, so which is a kind of quite a funny thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
We've made more films than he has, so actually we know more about it than somebody who's an extraordinarily experienced director. And I think that's what's kind of, to me, I think that's exciting. And it's exciting for young people as well, who can just give it a go and bring their sort of experiences of gaming into it. And I think in terms of the technology, what's hugely exciting to me is when you have 6 degrees of freedom within film. That will really move it on for me, and the reason for that is that it's, for me, so much is about taking people to another place. So if you can actually take someone to another place and let them actually explore it themselves, that would be an extraordinary thing to be able to offer people.
Yeah, and with the tumbling prices of the headsets and the the evolution of them, we're offering 6 degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
That's going to open up all sorts of avenues and give us a bigger audience too.
Yeah.
It's kind of a challenge as a company to sort of stay on the cutting edge, but also still be producing relevant material in the present. Right, so we kind of have to have one leg in the future, anticipating what these technologies will be coming around the corner, but also be in the present and use our past skill sets as cinematographers and directors and writers and producers to sort of use these new toolkits, this new language that we've been refining. I mean, in 2014, I used to say VR was in its infancy. I think maybe we're now in like the toddler phase.
Yeah.
And then sort of
I like
kids
that.
are getting kicked out of the playground,
Yeah.
out of the sandbox. Because they were.
They've already been bad.
Yeah. They're in a timeout.
Yeah.
So, but it's. I think it's really exciting for me as a cinematographer to kind of come to travel and meet fellow VR cinematographers and see what they're up to and sort of get a good idea of what excites them about our field.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the challenges that we face is we have to be our own advocates in some ways. The technology, because it requires someone to put this thing on their head, that they might have had a bad experience with VR that wasn't even 360 video, it could have been something else.
Yeah.
But there's this sort of this process they have to go through, and majority of the people that we encounter, they have a fear of the unknown. They're like, no, or if it's at a fancy event, they've spent a half an hour doing their hair. They don't want to ruin their hair.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's more of a process to ask someone to dedicate this time, which I find is fascinating, is that it's uninterrupted, an experience that is the opposite of where we're going with all our other technology, which is this fragmentation of our experiences. So most people nowadays will be flipping through Netflix and they'll watch a show, but they'll be checking their phone at the same time, and they might be texting, and they're looking at multiple screens. And when you ask someone to go into a VR experience, it's actually helping them focus.
Yes, stripping it back.
You're stripping it back, and you're saying, we're going to put everything on hold, and you're just going to be in this experience. So it's sort of like this antigen almost to the rest of what's going on in cinematography.
I think also something that's overlooked is the fact that the experience is very truthful. And by that I mean, when you compose a shot as a traditional filmmaker, you choosing what the person can see, and you might be choosing not to show the nuclear power station just to the right of the shot. Whereas in VR, you're giving the person the opportunity to be there and to see for themselves.
Yeah, it's true. Although we can.
I know.
But oftentimes we composite things to just bring back what was already there. So if it's a tripod, or if it's a rover moving the camera through the air, we're just removing the rover so you're not distracted by what the object that's carrying the camera. So it's kind of like this funny, dichotomy that we we exist in as VR filmmakers. And,
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. Although we've comped in quite a few things that are not, but we're not pretending that they're not there. It's just that, you know, for example, in the latest film of The Female Planet, we have a mirror. And we have our character talking to herself in the mirror, but there are two parts of her. She has two identities.
Oh,
so we change. So one of them, she's in traditional Indian clothes, and then that's the reflection in the mirror, actually. And then looking into the mirror, she's wearing Western clothes. So we were playing with
the
that.
camera's moving.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's impressive.
yeah, that's one of my favorite shots. Or with the Gina Rodriguez one, we've composited her 4 times in our shot, which is also moving, so that you feel like she's around you as she's talking to you. So we're not pretending, it's not like we're lying about what's happening there. I mean, it's obvious that Gina's not in all those places.
And the viewers are aware of that, the stylistic
right.
approach that you're taking.
But that's also what I love about it, is that you can, it's this whole kind of new crazy world that sometimes you hadn't even thought of, you know, and then you're like, oh, what if we did this?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I like about it. I like saying to Richard, I really want to do this. And him going, what? From what? No. But then he does it. He always does it.
Yeah. I think you enjoy the challenges of this new field.
Yeah.
It keeps your heart beating, you know, like keeps you when you wake up in the morning.
As I make you climb a cliff in Gibraltar. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to keep this interview, you know, at a healthy length, because I know you guys have places to go.
Thank you.
I guess just any parting words or anything you'd like to share with the audience in terms of you know, Surround Vision next ventures and such.
No, we look forward to making more amazing material and meeting amazing people.
And so where can people find?
We have a YouTube channel, Surround Vision YouTube channel. Go and check it out. We try and keep it updated, and so subscribe. And
I think it's spelled in the British Surround as like SURROUND.UK.
.co.uk. That's our website.
Mm-hmm.
And then the YouTube series can be found.
Yep, if you just type in The Female Planet, but you can find it on YouTube VR, on any headset. You can watch it now.
Awesome.
So
I really encourage the viewers to check out the series. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Mary, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for spending
thank
your time
you.
with
Thanks
me
for having
this
me.
evening.
Yeah,
Richard,
lovely.
as always, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, cool.
And and stay tuned. I'm hoping to ask Surround Vision to provide some footage that we can some interstitial examples that can perhaps be overlaid in this interview. And if they're there, you've already seen them. So good.
See you later.
Cool. Have a good evening.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
Shout out from London.